This isn't your grandma's automated people mover. This is, verbatim, a Gadgetbahn.
This thing is so silly.
But how did something as revolutionary as this come to be in a state that you think would be so hostile to mass transit? Well, first we need to start with some preface. About an hour's drive from downtown Pittsburgh gets you to West Virginia University's Morgantown campus, which has a lot of medical stuff and a rec center with a goddamn hot tub. But what possibly takes the cake on this campus is the inclusion of the Personal Rapid Transit System. Stretching about 3.5 miles, it connects downtown Morgantown with a lot of parts of the campus such as housing, health sciences, and more. Also, I recorded that after just getting back from New York City at 10 p.m., so I'm gonna try and use a little more energy in my voice now that I'm not absolutely just demolished. To see where the story really starts, we have to start about 75 miles from Morgantown in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, specifically the Allegheny County Fairgrounds, which was the home of a revolutionary new transportation system built by Westinghouse Electric, and it was called the Skybus. And a side tangent, if you live in any city that has anything that looks like this, you're riding a direct descendant of the Skybus. How, you might ask? When the Skybus died, because bureaucracy, of course, the technology was absorbed by Adtranz after they purchased it from Westinghouse Electric. The technology was then transferred to Bombardier Transportation after they bought Adtranz and was merged into their Innovia family under the name Innovia APM, which was then, get this, bought out again by Alstom. So that's how that happened. With that out of the way, we can get the focus back onto Morgantown. Wait, no, I lied. We have to put a little spotlight on the entire country first. Now, I'm no APUSH student, but I can tell you that after World War II, America was getting into cars. Because of the abundance of not only babies, but surplus money and surplus production, car ownership and all of its facets exploded right after the war. And that meant that people could now drive further out to suburbs instead of living in the cities. This, of course, is a problem for said cities. Any history buffs here probably know that I'm about to say that this was a job for Lyndon Baines Johnson. Under the Johnson administration, the Great Societies program took place, which gave us many great metros such as one in Seattle,
Psych! That's the wrong number!
MARTA, WMATA, and BART. However, one little known thing is that before all that happened, a couple reports were published by the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Urban Mass Transit Administration, or UMTA. Now, Wikipedia just calls these the HUD reports, for Housing and Urban Development, of course, but I did some digging around and I found an actual report called Tomorrow's Transportation on the LA Metro Archives. In the preface of this report, Lyndon B. Johnson says that in the next 40 years, we must completely renew our cities. The alternative is disaster. Something something, and not a single one of these can happen until we completely rebuild our mass transit systems. Now, this report is very favorable for personal rapid transit systems, and one of the main examples it gives for this kind of technology is, of course, you guessed it, the Skybus. Now, this report specifically caught the attention of one very particular man, Sammy Elias of West Virginia University. And let me tell you, when this man saw what they were doing with PRT, he knew that it would be right for West Virginia University. This man was so integral to the project that the engineering station actually has a plaque dedicating it to him. Sometime later, with some political pressure from the West Virginia legislature, Morgantown had secured the necessary funding to procure a personal rapid transit system of its own. Now, there's this old-ass website from the University of Washington that has tons of information, and according to them, they were going to use the PRT system as a political pawn. The system had to be ready for the 1972 election to show the progress that was being made by Richard Nixon and his administration. As for procuring the rolling stock, I'll spare you the details of all the competition, but it all boiled down to one man, William Olden, and his design, the Star Car, or the Self-Transport Road and Rail Car. As you could probably tell by looking at the photo, the original vision for the Star Car is much different than what we have today running on the PRT. The original thought was to create a vehicle that could be started off as a gas-powered car that you would drive onto a specific guideway, and then it would switch over to electric power and automatically transport you to the nearest station to your destination, to which you could then take over driving. Now this reeks of 70s, and definitely was not practical in the long run, so ultimately a dumbed down version of the system had to be used. A small audit discovered that Alden's company was simply too small to be able to take on the task, and so they took the designs, ran with them, and gave them to none other than the Jet Propulsion Lab and Boeing Vertol, among other companies, to carry out the construction of the system. By 1970, Morgantown had assembled a dream team to build out the PRT. Boeing Vertol would take care of building the vehicles, the Jet Propulsion Lab would take care of managing the project, Bendix Corporation would supply control systems, and this company, which I don't have a logo for, FR Harris Engineering, would design and build guideways and stations. The guideways were built out of concrete, with heating pipes to melt snow because of the design of the guideway not permitting for plows, and 575 volt at 60 Hz third rail-esque electrification. After around $62 million not adjusting for inflation, the first phase of the system was completed and opened. The line at this point was about 5 miles and consisted only of 3 stations: Walnut, Beechhurst, and the engineering station on the Evansdale campus. 4 years after the original segment opened, in 1979, Phase 2 of the system was finally opened, adding on the Health Sciences and Towers stations. At last, the PRT had finally broken onto the stage and proven itself. It ran consistently better than the bus system that it ended up replacing, solved a lot of issues with gridlock to the point where the mayor even acknowledged it as one of the reasons Morgantown had such a low unemployment rate. It also nets a good amount of riders. In 2005, which is the latest that I can access data, about 2.25 million rides were taken in that year. Today, it's safe to say that the PRT has been working as intended. In the fall 2017 semester, the system was able to transport some 1.1 million passengers. For the current fare scheme, the system is free for all students and faculty at the Morgantown campus. However, visitors such as myself would have had to pay 50 cents to ride. However, when I tried to ride it, the fare gates just did not accept change at all. I was able to just press the button to pick a station, and it just let me on. But without further ado, let's get into some more rapid-fire facts. From 2014 on, efforts were made to renovate the system and all of its equipment, as they were running on really old computers. Like, I'm talking really old. The original wayside communication system was also replaced with a greater CBTC system to provide the location of the trains. This New York Times article from 2007 suggests that there were proposals to extend the line. However, I'm assuming they fell through because it's been 11 years and nothing has come of it. In terms of the operation itself, there are 3 modes that the system can run in: demand mode, which is kind of the normal mode, scheduled mode, and circulation mode. Demand mode is mostly used during peak hours. The way it works is that when a customer boards the system, they select the station that they're going to, and if nobody else is going there, a car is automatically dispatched within 5 minutes. Scheduled mode algorithmically creates routes based on periods with well-known travel demands. This can reduce waiting time during events such as game days, or an influx of students going downtown for some delicious crepes. And circulation mode is mostly used during off-peak hours, where it runs like a bus, stopping at every station. Speaking of stopping, how about being forced to stop? In the system's history, there have only been 2 recorded accidents on the system that have resulted in the closure of any given part of the system. The first was reported on in 2016 by WVU's newspaper The Daily Athenaeum, in which 2 cars collided between Walnut and Beechhurst stations. Albeit only a minor accident, the newspaper did promise an update, of which none have happened in 10 years. The second accident happened in 2020 between Beechhurst and engineering stations, in which a literal boulder dislodged from a nearby mountain crashed into a PRT car and then ultimately onto a highway. And then again, speaking of stopping, I think it's time that we stop this video because I've said pretty much all there is to say. That wasn't too bad now, was it? Thanks Thanks for sticking around this long to let me move all the pixels on your screen for an extended period of time. Once again, if you have any sort of ways that I can make these kinds of videos better, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. So I hope you learned something. Have a good one. But one more thing. If you ever find yourself in Greater Pittsburgh, do yourself a favor and go check this thing out. And also, there's a little shack attached to a supermarket near Hampshire on the PRT Red Line that has really good tacos al pastor. Thank you to The Classy Whale for putting me onto that. Okay, now the video's over.